everyone, I'm Marky Grasse, and this is Podcast Mark, where I have people coming on the show to talk about both personal and professional development and reflecting on my, transformation journey that I've been going through for the last 3 to 4 years, and bringing on people who can actually, talk about that. And, I don't claim to be an expert, so I always try to bring on people who know more than me, and luckily that's most people in general. So welcome, Justin.
Hey, good. Oh yeah, for those who can see, like I don't know how to hold a pencil right. Yeah, so and then things that a monkey can do or a child can do, I have trouble doing them. But I do know how to be a dad slash husband and connect visionaries to serve humanity through pattern recognition. So we can talk about that today if you want.
Oh my gosh, I love all of that. It's kind of funny because a lot of times I have to describe pattern recognition and just how important it is in like every aspect of your life. And if you can't recognize those patterns, you're kind of can be lost a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So let's start there. What's the importance of pattern recognition with, say, transformation and minding?
Anything, but okay, yeah, enlightenment,
Do that.
enlightenment. Wow, okay, so we've never talked, and I found my favorite pattern of all time, and then oh wait, let me slow down for once because now I'm excited and we're like separated at birth, but you'll see, everyone will see it, but like we've never really talked, but we have apparently in some other life, but
Yeah, you never
okay,
know.
okay, right. So this is my entire day. One, spending time with my wife, who is a pediatrician and COO of Brepic Network. And our sons, who are 11 and 9, they are both unemployable, pure visionary maniacs like me, with my wife's kindness and empathy. So that's one. Or talking to world's top visionaries or people that will do what it takes to become those people. Most of them are ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. It's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius mislabeled by humans. And then I hear blah 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 blah, and then simplify into a pattern. Blah 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 blah. Simplify into pattern. And then so my entire brain, it just simplifies into patterns. And the key to life is not only recognizing the patterns, more importantly, as important, creating your own patterns. So it's
Ooh.
great to recognize the patterns and activate them, but then create your own patterns with that. That's when it's really exciting. That's when it's really exciting. And you said the word enlightenment. Enlightenment. So I've been obsessed lately with Dr. David Hawkins, who died in 2003. He was an MD and PhD. I think he was in his 80s when he died, and he spent his entire life essentially working on a scale of consciousness for people, and then he put it in numerical form. And the highest form of consciousness, level of consciousness, is 1,000, which is enlightenment.
Mm.
The rest of my living body life, the goal is to get to 1,000. The closest I've seen to that in human form, my wife and I just went to Necker Island, Sir Richard Branson's private island, and we were there. He was basically at every meal, every event. So like 5 straight days of that. He's the closest to 1,000 I've ever met. Like the ultimate combination of genius heart and genius brain, which is enlightenment to me. And then it goes up to 1,000. Most humans never get to 200. 200 is the sign of courage. That's courage. That's where like you start to see the small business owner or consultant or the person who asks to get that promotion. That's 200. And then only 1% of the world gets to 500. I want to get this scale here so I can
Is
get
this
it.
the Colby index?
No. This
Oh
is
no,
David.
something different.
We can talk about that in a minute too, because that's another good pattern recognition. So this is David Hawkins's scale of consciousness. So 500 is inner love. Only 1% of the world ever gets to that. 540 is oneness. Only 0.4% gets to that. Most, not all, but most of the visionaries I talk to are in the 400 to like 800, high 800 range. I'm in like the 700 to 800 range, and the 800 is called the Great Void. But I'm really excited about that because I think I found the key to getting to 850, which is divine grace and love union. And I've met very few people over 850, but you can tell right away when someone has that. They're like
Wow.
they're like special beings and they're full aliens. And they have this calm presence. It's super interesting.
Well, we'll have to break all that down because I think a lot of
Yeah,
people
that
have
was a
never
lot.
heard of
Sorry.
this. But
No,
let's just
yeah,
let's start.
visionaries. A lot of them have, but this is a different world of, yeah. So visionaries. This is what we talk
Well,
about all the time. Yeah.
the thing is, I think, just to be soft on everybody, we've all been programmed into being ordinary, right? I mean, I think a lot of people are born with
Not all, but
not
most.
all, most are born with some innate genius, and it's just kind of, trampled down until you end up being less visionary. But why do you think, like, what's your explanation for why that happens, and
Oh,
why
because it's
some people?
humans. It's humans. Okay, so all I do is talk to visionaries. Most of them are not silver spoons. The silver spoon discussion is a different one. So these are the four things that separate visionaries from humans, business owners, consultants. There are only four things. Not the silver spoons, different discussion. Four
Hmm.
things. One, bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. Two, depression. Three, highest level of anxiety you can imagine. Four, trauma as a child or young adult. So humans, business owners, consultants, those are excuses. They don't get to the courage level. They don't get to, that's the 200 level. They don't get to the oneness level. They don't get to the inner love. They don't, certainly don't get to the awareness, which is 700. And then for visionary, figure it out. That's what it, that's what it is.
Do you think it's just the, educational system or parents, or
No,
why
no,
do you
no,
think?
no, no, no. Visionaries don't make visionaries will figure it. Now, if I was born in Korea, North Korea, I'd be in a firing squad. I'd be shot. But most countries, a visionary is going to do whatever it takes. One of our PR partners, his grandfather was decapitated in front of him in Burma. No education in Burma. Decapitated in Burma. He and his dad went to Hong Kong with $10 in their pocket when he was a kid. He created two eight-figure companies, and then he hired a PR firm right at the start of COVID. Because he created an at-home robot that has like a pill dispenser, and like a drone for people with Alzheimer's dementia because his mom has Alzheimer's dementia. So that's a visionary. That's
That's
what it
incredible.
does.
So you think it's more, well, so you're not just born with it though. I mean, we all have the potential for it, right?
No, should be a
No.
visionary. Absolutely no. God, no, no, oh no, 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 no. If the whole world was visionary, it'd be anarchy, chaos. Um, so I'm convinced of this. I'm convinced of this. You're either born with a genius brain or not. I'm convinced of that.
Mm.
Um, whether that's IQ or whatever. Um, and then many of the folks I talked to barely graduated high school. They were put in special education classrooms, and they're geniuses, but human teachers didn't know what to do with them, but they figured it out anyway and became what they became. So I'm convinced you're born with a genius brain or not. I'm also just as convinced that if you are not born with a genius heart, you can learn that. You can learn
Mm.
that.
Well, I like
Yeah.
that. I hate the thought of leaving people behind, even if it is by their
Oh, you're
own.
a pure empath. Okay, so you're a pure empath includer. So so I can hear it. You're a pure empath. I hate the fact of okay. So all I do spend time with my family and connect visionaries because they help everyone else. All I do is connect the visionary because they'll do something that helps everyone else raise their level of consciousness. But I never think about leaving anyone behind. The people that are left behind, that's their own doing with their own victim mindset. A visionary is never a victim or makes excuse ever. Never.
Ah, never. That's
Oh,
that's bold.
never. Yeah, so my father was 61 when I was born, World War II hero, shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, got back into a plane. So you're either someone who could do that or makes an excuse. Visionaries don't make excuses. Not at the
That's true.
highest level.
Well, I don't think you can, because at that point you're really, I mean, I view it as being principle run, where you're saying, okay, I'm making my decisions based on, this set of rules that you have for yourself. But you're saying that it's
Correct.
more of a, okay, it is. So it's more a
A
principle
visionary is
based.
the rule. You don't make an ex I mean, no, you don't make an excuse. Certainly don't blame other people. You take accountability.
Love it. So how do you think people could raise their awareness then?
Yeah. We just had in our network latest meeting, we had a discussion about this. And awareness comes by being aware of something. So having these conversations, and then again, the people in that room, They're all visionaries. Most of them are very wealthy. Some aren't, but they will be because they want to hang around with visionaries, and money is
Mm,
energy. But again, visionaries raising their level of consciousness allows others to raise their level of
mm.
consciousness by byproduct. And by the way, most people that are having that level of consciousness raised while because of a visionary are complaining about the visionary or not understanding them while their level of consciousness is being raised. So visionaries will do that regardless of how people feel or talk about them. They'll do it anyway to help
Ah,
everyone else.
oh, I love that. Yeah, well, I think there's some key ways to do it. For me, I always struggled with a couple things, and it's also related to money because in the Bible you always hear it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is to have a rich man enter the kingdom of God, which I always was confused about because I was
Yes.
growing up I was surrounded by successful businessmen and there was a lot of money that I kind of looked up to. I had an
Businessmen
uncle.
aren't entrepreneurs. Businessmen are not
Uh,
visionaries.
well, okay,
Fundamentally.
okay. Let's say business owners then.
Yeah, they're not, those are not. So business owners care about revenue, employee count, office space. They're trying to change their world. Many of them have
Mm.
genius brains and not genius hearts. A true visionary has both genius heart and the genius brain. They care about purpose, spending time with loved ones, connectivity. They're changing the world. So their world people don't understand the world, and the world people do not want to hang out with their world people. Very
So
simple.
how do you explain money? Because a lot of times, everybody
Energy.
sees.
Money is energy. That's what it is.
Okay, so so everybody who thinks that money is evil is really talking about
No, you're
people then.
no. Money's
Decisions.
not evil. That's who, no. So like, okay, so here are the terms below 200 on the level of consciousness. Okay. These are below 200. Pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. Only those type of words would say money is evil.
Hmm.
That's just ridiculous. That's
Oh.
completely anyone who has anything and looks at anything was created by a visionary for the most part. It was created by a visionary. Anything.
Hmm.
Anything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I thought about that when I was a kid. I used to have this vision of.
Second grade. Well, car wash. Soccer game. Whoops. Yep.
But well, no, what I was saying was when I was younger, I had this vision of, if I started today and I was the only person on Earth, how long would it take me to develop the civilization that we currently have?
Oh man,
And
wow.
and what I
Jeez.
finally realized, and this was years, I used to have these I don't know, ongoing universes that I would build for myself and just kind of
Yeah,
populate
of
with ideas.
course. Yes.
And this was one of them. And what I realized was that that would never happen. You would never develop, the majority of things because you didn't have the source material. And a lot of the ideas that we have today are actually conceived by so many different people over so many
Of course.
iterations that
Yes.
you don't even know where they came from most of the time. But what you're saying is that visionaries literally created everything, which is the
Everything.
ideation
Yes.
of
Yeah. So
anything needed.
90% of the people I talk to are ADD, ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. They're all over the place, but they create the things with their wonder and invention. And then humans, for the most part, follow up and execute it for them.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. And then I'm the very, very, very rare visionary that has high quick start and high follow through, ultra focused. And then all I care about is spending time with my family and connecting visionaries to serve humanity because
Mm.
visionaries actually create everything that helps humanity.
I love that. But let's talk about the follow through component because I think there are a lot of people who, talk the talk, but literally
Talk is
can't walk the
meaningless to
walk.
me without execution. Talk is meaningless to me. Meaningless.
Exactly. So
Right.
how do you increase the follow through? Because there's lots of people who say like,
Oh,
oh, I mean, my favorite thing is when somebody says like, oh yeah, you heard that idea that just got big. Like I actually had that idea before. Like that's something that
what?
people say, and you're like,
Who are you
that
talking
doesn't
to that
that
even,
doesn't
yeah, I don't
mean.
have those conversations. It's ridiculous. That's okay. Okay, so
But let's take that person and say like, okay, that's nothing because ideas are nothing, but the follow through is everything. How do you connect the two or help other people connect the two?
oh, okay. Thank you. Good question. I put it in the chat. Again, we briefly mentioned Colby, so kolbe.com/a index. It takes 20 minutes. It measures how your brain takes action. I only think about visionaries. So most visionaries are high quick start and little to no follow through. So that's all over the place. And without a low quick start, high follow through, COO or stabilizing human or assistant, total disaster. So collaborative follow through. My Colby, I have high quick start and high follow through. So it's like if you put a visionary with an integrator and a researcher in one person, it's a unicorn score, that would be me.
Hmm.
So own follow through. But for second company, I can't build a SaaS platform, nor would I even try to do that. So my partner is a full backstage visionary, who's also high quick start, high follow through. And then my wife is COO. She's low quick start, high follow through, just an incredible COO integrator, a machine, onboarding machine.
Oh, I love
Yep.
that. Yeah, and
Yep.
that's yeah, I have that sometimes where I get a lot of things started and then
It's called
you know,
ADD.
well, I mean they get done, but a lot of times it's like if it's not something that's going to hold my interest for an extended period of time, then it's kind of like, well, I did the thing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
good.
called ADD.
Oh, okay. There you go. So, well, let's talk about the diagnosis of ADD and ADHD.
Okay.
Is it, I mean, because it's
Not a
seen as a
disorder.
well, yeah,
It's not
exactly.
a
It's seen
disorder
as a disorder or disability.
by humans.
What's a better way to explain it
The sign
to
of genius mislabeled by humans.
okay, so how should it be explained? Or how do you
I don't
explain it to
use that
people who don't
word.
so you don't use it at all?
I don't talk to non-visionaries. Pointless discussion. They just stare. So
Ugh.
no, no. So humans want order, so they label someone who doesn't cause order in a classroom a disorder. I mean, so and then there are only four types of visionaries, only four. One is ADD, ADHD, two, minor Asperger's. My wife, who is a doctor, has unofficially diagnosed me with that.
Hmm.
Usually, minor Asperger's is also associated with exceptionally high IQ, which is that's just what it is. Three is dyslexia. Sir Richard Branson is dyslexic, as are 30% of high performing entrepreneurs, and then four is astronomically high IQ and or EQ. So someone who's not on the spectrum or doesn't have high IQ or EQ is not a visionary. I mean, they don't have they're not wired like that. They're not.
So the super successful visionaries that are bad integrators, are they successful because they're able to come up with the vision and then partner with people
Great
who are,
question. I thought about this in
oh,
deep thinking. Because most of them have ADD, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, and high quick start in Colby is mean they're not afraid of risk or
mm,
chasing things because that's their brain. They make mistakes or they learn faster than those with low quick start, high follow through, playing not to lose. And so the ones with ADD realize that they can't do it themselves faster than someone who
mm.
thinks they can. So if they don't hire someone or don't marry a stabilizing human, usually visionaries marry a kind, loving, stabilizing human, usually, not always. But if they don't, then it's complete disaster. It's
Hmm.
complete disaster. So because they see the disaster, have gone through disaster, they know they're smart enough to realize that they're the problem because of their lack of follow through. So they have to find collaborative follow through.
Wow. Well, that, I mean, well, for most people, that would take a lot of humility to be able to say, "Hey, I
No,
don't
no,
have
no,
doesn't
you're
require."
hanging out with most people. They're not doing, I don't know, because that's you're okay. Thank you for saying that, but I don't live in that world. Most people aren't they're not going to do that. Never. They're going to
Wow.
complain about it. They're not going to do it. They're not.
So do you have to wait for them to kind of realize what's happening, or do
Oh,
most people just never get to that point? The people who are not
I
awake
don't
or
know. I don't know. I connect visionaries because they help everyone else. I have no
okay.
idea what everyone else is thinking.
Well, let's talk about visionaries then, because visionaries could disagree with aspects of anything, just like any person can. What's the best way to connect with visionaries?
Well, everything's a pattern. I've seen a four-step journey, and it's really interesting because this is how I learn in real time. This is the third type discussion like this I've had today, and then it's
Oh wow.
starting to cement this idea. But like, so there's a four-step journey. I used to think it applied to someone starting a business, but I actually think it's from when you're born. Like it's a four-step journey. And almost no one gets to the fourth step. I mean, in like a statistical way that I see. So first is get to get. So baby, you're pure getting, and then starting a company, pure getting. That's fine. A lot of people stay at get to get their whole lives. It's very interesting. They're just trying to take from people. Then there's get to give. You're mostly getting. You're giving a little bit, but you're mostly trying to get. So for that, I'm thinking like a young kid. You're starting to give a little, but you still need a lot of help from people. Or a small business, you're still trying to get clients. You might provide a little help to people, but you're still trying to get. Then there's give to get. This is where 99.9% of the world stops. You're giving, mostly giving, but you're still trying to get something back. Still trying to get something back. And then you get to the true visionary, the true like high level of consciousness. You give to the people who get it. Give to the people who get it. So I will endlessly give to visionaries, endlessly, because they get it and they don't make excuses. If they give something back, great. Most of the time they do because they get it. But if they don't, that's fine. Doesn't matter because they get it.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I've struggled with
Every response from you is I've struggled or these people complain. So you're answering your own questions. I will not deal with that. Period. Waste of time.
it's so hard. I have this
No, it's
innate
not incorrect. Not for a
you just
visionary.
stop. Well, because a lot of things that I've done, or my blocks that I've had have come from trying to help people who
You're your
don't
own
want it.
block. No, you're your own
No.
block. You're helping people that are not going to be helped. They're not going to do it.
Ugh,
So you took, okay, well, that line, how old are you?
40.
Okay, well, so you can have that the rest of your life, or you don't have to. That's your decision. No one else's fault.
I know. I
No, every
it's
response is a disgusted, like, but that's, I mean,
well because I know it's true, and it's just
okay,
been a
well,
repeating lesson that I
okay.
have to learn over and over again.
Oh,
It's
okay. I don't understand. I mean, I don't believe in randomness. Reason to be on the show. You have children?
I do. I actually have a
Are you
autistic.
married?
I am married, and so I have
So
a
why do
10-year-old
you
and 11-year-old.
value people over your own family? That's my litmus test. If I talk to someone and they waste my time, I just take time away from my family. I just don't talk to them anymore. Why would you do that? I'm just saying in general.
It's
Why would you talk to
illogical.
someone that takes time away from you and your family? That's illogical.
Mm, No, it's not valuable in any way. So that makes sense. And actually, if you just expand that thinking into everything, then yeah, it
Well,
actually would
it's
be
not
really
that
easy.
hard, but most people have their own problem because they don't have the EQ and IQ to do anything about it. They stay
Mm.
below the level of consciousness and they're afraid. Fear is 100. Fear is 100.
Well, let's talk about fear because that's
Fear is great for a visionary.
is it?
Oh my God, dude.
I have a lot to learn. That's why I have you on the show.
Okay. Fear is the fuel to propel a visionary to like that. It has to be something to be afraid of. Otherwise, what's the point?
But how do that turn that fear from being incapacitating to being something that's
No,
motivation?
a
You can't turn it.
visionary will do that.
Just do.
My dad was shot down multiple times in an airplane in World War II, many times without a parachute, got back into a plane. Most people cannot do that. A visionary will always do that.
So what is his? Let's talk about that because that's an amazing story. Was it his mission to help his country, and so it didn't matter that he was shot down because that would be or help his people, his family, his other soldiers in the plane. Like what was the driver? What was the vision?
What was the driver of a soldier honoring his country and his fellow soldiers getting back into I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I mean,
Well, how would you define it? Because I mean, him getting back in the plane. You're just saying the action is the
I mean,
like. What was his thought process? How about we do that? What was he thinking when he said, "I just got shot down. I made it back home, and now I'm going to get back in the plane and go"? How would he explain that to people?
So he died when I was 13. Every day he said the cream rises to the top. So I used to think that I used to be a journalist. So I used to think, oh, that's getting to a big market in journalism, or used to think it was becoming top visionary on planet, or starting a company from nothing with zero business background and building a global company. But now what I realize it is it's actually rising in levels of consciousness. Um, that's what the cream rises to the top means to me. And then having kids, our sons are pure, no excuses, pure visionaries. They're 9 and 11, and they've taught me more about life than I already than I think I've taught them. So
I totally agree with that.
yeah. Hey, we're in agreement. That's yeah. I'm sure you have
And
nothing.
I haven't disagreed with anything you've said. I'm just
You
bummed about
disagree with
it.
your own mindset.
Yes.
You're your own problem. I mean, that's what it is. So that's what it
Well, so how
is.
do I grow from that?
Stop complaining. Stop making an excuse. I mean, I don't understand excuses. I've never understood that. It's confusing to me. Um,
No, it's
it's just,
counterproductive. So yeah, that doesn't make any
well,
sense.
what's the point? I don't even
Yeah.
understand. Again, it comes, to me, it comes back like it's very simple. Like, why would anyone talk to anyone that isn't valuable and takes time away from their family? It's like literally, it's, I just don't understand that. It's like, why would you do that? But most people, they do that.
Mm,
I don't know
yeah.
why, but they do.
Well, I think a lot of people have just been convinced that this is the right thing to do based on whatever parameters they've
Is
been
it?
taught.
How does that feel?
Well, I think people stop feeling. I think they just say,
You haven't
this is the
stopped feeling.
rule
You
I've been
feel
told.
terrible. You feel disgusted every time you think about it. By the way, apathy is 50. That's the third lowest on the scale.
uh,
So that's most of the world. That's my point.
yeah, that's rough.
It's
But
not,
I mean,
it's true.
it's just what it is. That's a good
Right.
way to look at it too. It's just a fact, and
Victim
maybe.
abuser consciousness is anything over under 200. Victim
Huh.
abuser. Yep.
Huh. Yeah, that does sound like a lot of people. Well, let's talk about your kids because like I said, I have a 10 and 11-year-old.
Hmm.
My 11-year-old is severely autistic, so he's
Severely.
nonverbal,
Hmm.
full-time ABA therapy.
Hmm.
He's an amazing person, though. I mean, he's
Of
probably taught
course.
me at least as much as my other son, who's
The other son's the older brother, though, right?
no, he's the younger. They're
No,
only
but
10
I
months
mean
apart.
he's the older brother. He's the caretaker for the
Yes. Well,
11-year-old
and
puppy.
he's become incredibly,
Right. He
good
has to.
with special needs kids and
Of
with young
course.
children, and it's
Yes.
it's really neat to see. And honestly,
Yeah.
my son, Damien's his name. He's taught me just so much about
Of course.
empathy and patience and uh, compassion. Just piles of lessons. But my other
Right.
son, who's a different kind of special, I always say because he's really gifted. He's very intelligent. He's
Mhm.
good at athletics. People
Yep.
really like him. He has a really good
Yes.
heart. So it's interesting. So they're both teaching me tons of lessons, and I'm always
Yep.
trying to you know accumulate and integrate all these different lessons that I've been taught. It's
Is
not
your
really a
wife a
choice.
stabilizing human? Is your wife a kind stabilizing human, like a teacher or something like that?
No, but she's one of those people who has to help everybody. So she literally
What is
will.
she trained in education wise?
Oh, she's an accountant. So
Yeah,
she
that's
has
a
a master's in.
stabilizing human. I'm just thinking. That's fun. Thank God for that. Thank God. Imagine if you've married.
Yeah.
Oh, ugh. Woo.
No, it's
Yeah.
this is my second marriage. I was
Oh,
married for.
oh, was your first wife a stabilizing human, or was she like you?
She was different. High school sweetheart. I don't think we really knew who we were at the time, anyways.
Okay.
Plus, you're just immature, and I knew that even when I did it. But for me, I've used discipline throughout my life to kind of push myself into situations that I shouldn't be in, and that just instinctually you would say I shouldn't be here, but I don't stop. I'm going to make things work no matter what, and then I keep pushing.
Okay. Ugh, that sounds like a bad idea.
Oh, it's terrible. It has
Oh,
been very disastrous where I basically
oh.
I'll give you some context for me because
You
I
don't need to. I've heard enough context from your reactions to every response.
but
I'm
you have to
gonna,
understand I wasn't always like I am currently. Like I wasn't open and I wouldn't talk and I wouldn't actually say anything that I actually felt for the majority of
Hmm,
my life because I had a
right.
undiagnosed kind of IBS where I was basically nauseous and bloated and
Of
uncomfortable because I'm
course.
allergic
Makes
to
sense.
100+ foods. And then
Right.
once I fixed that, then I was able to wake up and realize that I was basically in pain most of the
Yeah.
time, and that's why I
Makes
was
sense.
miserable and couldn't connect with anybody. But it's new.
Perfect. That's what makes a great entrepreneur. So you spent the last 4 years transforming. So hopefully this fast tracks it.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying. But how can I speed it up? How about that? It's been turbulent. The whole awakening process
Most
and the
people
whole
can't do it. That's why
it's
they're
so
not
hard.
visionaries.
Now, does it get increasingly difficult to get to those next levels? Because I've run into
Totally
roadblocks.
disagree with that. It's actually
No,
easier to get to the next
it should
level.
get easier. Okay, so, yeah,
If
I'm
you're hanging out with the
overthinking it.
right people, not with ones that bring it down. I mean,
Oh, dang it!
dude,
That's
you
the
can't
key
listen to the
right there.
negative responses. I can't listen to any more negative. It's like you're disgusted with yourself and it's
I
driving my.
know. Well,
Yeah,
okay, all right.
stop
I'm
it.
gonna be
Stop
positive.
doing that. Stop it. I can't listen to that anymore. Stop.
Okay, I'm
Stop.
sorry. I have over the last 2 years built a very good network of other friends and people who are like-minded, visionaries, you would call them, and it's been extremely helpful. So I think
Good.
it's just taking that next step of stopping the bad inputs from
Oh,
affecting
yeah.
things.
Okay, so I'll get the one context I will say is, so the foods you're allergic to 100 foods. I'm allergic to anyone who's not a visionary. Allergic.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Oh, you did it. I just simplified it. Yeah.
I think it's an ego thing too, because a lot of times, throughout my life, I try to change people or I try to push them towards being better, and it has
They're not going to do it.
not gone well. No. Well, I actually started just comparing it to dealing with drug addicts, where it's kind of like it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter how much you tell them that what they're doing is destructive and harmful and blah, 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 blah. If they don't decide that for themselves and make a change, it's just
Okay.
they're not
Well,
going to
that's
stop.
okay. So that's what I'm saying to you. Unless you change it, it's not good. It's going to be the same reaction. So, yep.
Well, no, you're right. I'm going to be positive. I am positive. I'm going to
Good.
be. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So you solved that problem.
I did. Okay, good. Hey, great.
But how do you excel, or how do you even realize what the next levels are? Because you talked about the point system, the thousand, um, but is it constantly reviewing, or how do you know you've reached a certain level?
Great question. So when all you do is talk to visionaries, then these are the discussions you have. So that's how you learn things. So,
No, because you just know people who embody those traits.
yes. Yeah. And then
Ah,
give to the people who get it, introduce you to give to the people who get it. Then you just create your world
ah,
without people complaining about everything.
that does sound very simple and easy
Not
to
hard.
implement. Yeah, I mean that's
Hard to find at first. They're very hard to find at first. I'm 46, started first company 6 days after turning 40 with zero business background. So
huh.
almost 7 years ago, February 10th, 2017 is kind of when the first company started. But I still don't know what an S corp is. I don't care about that stuff. That doesn't mean anything to me, but really didn't understand or find the right people until COVID started because it became more global.
Mm.
And then you
Who
just
is
never stop doing it.
who is the first person you found?
Great question. Um, well, certainly my dad, but he died when I was 13. I think I relearned about him going through entrepreneur journeys. The cream rises to the top. But this is a funny story, but it's also true. Um, Um, one of the favorite patterns is I just keep writing bigger checks to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impact. That allows me to spend biggest check, biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make most impact. And then same pattern, you just create your own room, high price point, invite only room, and then it's a small room at first, then it becomes a bigger room, and then it just attracts cooler and cooler people. So That's all second company is. But the first couple of years of entrepreneurship, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was in like $500 a year networking rooms. Now I invest well over 100K a year. And then the one I helped start is a significant investment to join. But so I was in this 500 a year room, and I was talking to one of the people, and he was a nice person. I was talking like this, and he goes, "I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but the owner of my company does. Would you like to meet him?" I'm like, "Sure." So I talked to the owner of the company. His name's Gary Claben, and so he graduated first in his Army Rangers graduating class. He's like Rain Man with numbers. Super weird. That's a compliment. I'm also super weird. He's got to be Asperger's and ADD in some capacity. And then he goes, "Well, you got to get out of $500 a year room. You need to join $10,000 a year room." I'm like, okay. So I wrote check, and then now it's 25 to 50,000, multiple rooms like that, and then.
Wow. Now, let's talk about the investment because when we're talking about enlightenment and finding your people, is the investment, does it become a qualifier? Like if you
What a
can't,
great question. Okay. So my number one rule for anyone is ever, if someone asks me what do you cost or charge, I will never talk to that person again because those people are one, they're well below 200, two, well below 200, hang out with well below 200.
mm,
And then they don't get it. So, but only people I hang out with now, they ask what is an investment? Uh, what does an investment look like? Um, I don't even use the word cost anymore unless it's some in a situation like this, but that was the most interesting differentiator within the first couple of years.
mm.
Starting to hear the word cost and charge much less, and then hearing the word investment more. And now anyone who says cost or charges, just don't talk to them anymore because they don't understand.
Mm, that makes sense. But I mean, just the higher and higher amounts. So is it just because those people in the room understand the investment and it's always worth that much if they're
Yes.
paying it
Yeah, because they get it.
because they get it? Okay.
All right.
So well, let's talk about the different groups though. Like what kind of people were in that 500 group versus the 10,000 versus the 50,000?
Tremendous question. So first couple of years of entrepreneurship, I was talking to employees, small business owners, consultants. Um, and then even at the 10,000 a year level, it's still like you would see like an EOS implementer, you'd see a small financial advisor. At the 25K a year level, I would say 20 to 30% are not even, and maybe 20% are pure visionaries, meaning they have a genius brain and a genius heart combined. Most of them are well over seven figures, because money is energy. And then now, at the 50-ish, I'd say 50% are visionaries. The other 50% are super high IQ, like cyborg slash narcissists. They don't have the genius heart. They're like so high IQ.
Machines.
They're machines. Yeah. And then within our group, it's 100% genius brain, genius heart. We won't let anyone in there who's not like that because it's we
Toxic.
just pick we have 52 members, 43 of them at least are well over a millionaire. Most of, or not, some of them have had 8, 9 figure exits. There are a few that are not at that level yet, but they will be because they won't make excuses. And then they want to be around people that will raise their level of consciousness much higher, much quicker. And then byproduct of that is their profits and purpose will increase as well.
Awesome. No, that's a great explanation of the
Thank you.
difference between the different groups.
Yeah.
Now in these groups, is it are they masterminds where it's open discussion or is it guided by what's happening in the world? I mean, I was going to ask you about that too because things are a little nutty right now.
Uh, oh, I ignore. Yeah. So, my 9-year-old goes, "What do you think about Kamala Harris?" I go, who is that?" He goes, "That's a vice president of the United States." I go, "Oh, thank you for telling me." Yeah, like I have no idea what's going on in the world. Um, uh, just as an example, because talk is meaningless to me without an answer. I'm ringing the NASDAQ bell in a couple days, and I don't know anything about finance, but one of my friends whose parents were sharecroppers, okay? His parents were sharecroppers. He's on the board of NASDAQ, and then he invited me because he and I were separated at birth. He's just a great, pure visionary. I mean, just pure visionary. But no, I don't understand why, most people whose parents were sharecroppers didn't become on board of NASDAQ, but he was the exception. He was the exception.
So is that an example of the discussions that you'd have? There's just a natural progression of the connections you make.
It's a great follow-up. Thank you for doubling down on that. Um, um, so there's almost no business discussions anymore. Usually we talk about consciousness or higher power or faith
Mhm.
or connectivity or purpose. Um, if it's helpful for you and audience, I created a little like a hack in my own head. I'm only saying this to show you how my brain works, but if someone says or writes the word business, or if it's on like a worksheet, I just will literally cross it off or cross it off in my head, and then I change it to purpose life. So, hey, let's 10x your business. Life purpose. Oh, how's your business going? How's your purpose? How's your life going? So I just cross it off.
I love that.
Just-
Well, so
yeah.
do you think, because I mean, the trend in society is usually to separate the personal from the business life, like you can be some
And
kind of
totally
robot sometimes.
incorrect. Totally incorrect. Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
know.
make any sense.
No,
But
well,
why
epic
is that
life
taught?
because it's humans, they don't understand. Yeah, so I never took a business owner class. I don't even know what that stuff is. But no, so like Epic Life, I'm very grateful. Dr. Peter Diamandis wrote the four. He doesn't usually do that, but he did. I'm thankful for that. But it's how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. And then uh, after the book came out, my wife decided to phase out of pediatrics and join the company as COO. So it's
Wow.
collaborative. Balance, work-life balance that's a human term. It's just collaborative.
Yeah, it's just life, right?
It's just life. It's not, it's like all these
No
terms,
separating.
things, it's just these labels. Gotta have a label for everything.
Well, I mean, for me, like I do content marketing, and one of the big things that I try to get people to do, it's very difficult to do, is build
Uh,
databases of content just so you define, how your brand thinks about something, or kind of make
oh,
it idiot proof for your customers. But I have to categorize everything. Like it's literally like I always
you don't have to
categorize
do
things.
anything you don't want to do. You don't have to
Well, I
categorize.
want to. I love doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds
Like
like your
finding
customers
categories.
are annoyed by it. So
Well, it's just annoying because I try to teach people that, because I think it's extremely
why?
valuable for. Why is it annoying?
No, why are you teaching them if they don't get it?
That's a good point. Is it better to show?
Oh, I mean,
Just
people
do.
either really like me or they don't. The ones that like me are people like Dr. Peter Diamandis, and then most people just stare, but that's okay. I mean, again, you just get back into a plane after another one's been shot down. You just keep getting back into a plane. It's the same thing. Less dangerous, but it's the same thing.
Just moving forward.
You're just moving forward.
So you never try to convince anybody of anything.
No,
Oh, and that sounds awesome. I would be much happier if I could do that on a consistent basis. Because I think, I mean, just having this discussion makes me realize just how much that I stress over trying to change people's minds when I
sounds
shouldn't try to
terrible.
do that.
That sounds horrible.
It
Sounds
is.
okay. Sounds
So
terrible.
stop it. Is that
I don't. Why
that's
would
the
you?
answer?
I mean, if you didn't have kids or didn't have a wife, that I mean, then but why
Well,
would
and well, going back to like my transformation time, was I wasn't able to get anywhere until I realized that trying to achieve certain things and check some boxes and get the stuff that you're supposed to have meant nothing to me. That I finally was able to wake up
of
and be
course.
like, oh, okay, now I
Duh.
understand that this means nothing. But it was
Okay.
very roundabout way of coming to that realization. Is there an easier way to do it?
No.
No.
Um, the, mo- the So 2018, I had not been an entrepreneur for 2 years yet at that point. But at the end of 2018, I'd made more money in 1 year than I'd ever thought possible, and had never been more miserable in my life. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But glad I went through that, because I learned more money doesn't equal more happiness, and now make a lot more money, but that doesn't matter, because the only two questions that matter after learning that and going through that, only two questions I ask myself every day that matter, only two. One, did I have a good experience that day with my family? Two, did network grow on a global level? I found all this other stuff takes care of itself with that incredible amount of focus.
Yeah, that's a fantastic perspective. And it makes everything, well, it really decreases the importance of bad things, because, or not bad things, but things going wrong or things not going to plan. And again, this is all my ingrained I don't know, issues. What's a good word for it? Of needing to make a plan and see it executed versus just make an objective or purpose and then execute the
Yeah,
purpose.
you're a perfectionist. So I'm the opposite of that. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
You're
can
probably
actually.
like one in Enneagram. Everything needs to be perfect and right. That's a
You know what?
nightmare.
It's not quite that, because I definitely have a good enough philosophy a lot of the times, where it's like if it's within the time limit and I get the thing done and it's pretty good. Like I could probably make it better if I had another 100 hours or something, but it doesn't matter and it won't actually improve the results. So I
God,
guess
this
in
is
that case, it's not better.
ugh, this is
Well,
terrible.
it's this. How do you, or how do you recommend stopping the overthink?
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. This is very painful for me, because I feel your pain, but I'm not like that. I would just never be like this. I would never. I just would be the opposite of this. It's confusing to me.
Yeah, well, it's confusing to me too. I think it's just it's almost a habit that I need to break.
Well, okay, so patterns, the best patterns become the best habits, and the best habits become the best rituals. So my only rituals are spending time with family and connecting visionaries to serve humanity. And then a lot of visionaries, a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners have terrible habits, and then they become terrible rituals.
Hmm. Okay, so it's just a matter of habits then, and actually just observing the
Ritual.
habit. Because just having this conversation, you called me
Awareness,
out.
that's high on the scale level of consciousness, awareness.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I've never been called out this much, and it be so
You're the
justified.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're around lower level thinkers.
Uh, yeah, no, I mean that makes a ton of sense. And it's, you
It's
know,
not that they're good. It's just that you're not rising with them. They're actually holding you back. So you're holding yourself back, but they're also holding you back.
well, they're not helping would probably be the best way to put it. Not
Yes, man. You're like super empath. Oh man. Oh man. It's good
I didn't
though.
know that
Not for
either.
empathy.
Well,
Jeez.
even the empath side, like I didn't realize I was even like that because I had denied it from myself for so long. I basically created this
Let me tell
corporate
you something,
persona.
and I'm being serious. This is not a
Yes.
joke. It's a miracle you've created a company, because your brain is a terrible enemy for yourself.
Well, and
It's
that's why I have my wife.
incredible the amount of resilience that you have to get through your brain. Wow.
Is there a way to fix it?
I
Be around more people that are.
One, yes, two, therapy for sure.
Oh,
That
well,
would be
that's
helpful.
already that's been
Okay,
part of my
well,
life for a while.
okay, so that's good. I strongly feel, including myself, every visionary. Um, um, I've seen a therapist since 2018, when I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? The great part about my therapist is that she is entrepreneurial thinking, so she can keep
Oh,
up with me. That's very rare. Most of them, they don't, they're,
no, I can't
intellect,
understand.
you don't understand it, but she does. She's been very, the other thing, if you haven't read Man's Search for Meaning, have you read Man's Search for Meaning?
No, I'm writing it down right now.
Okay, do you know what that is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, that's for those who don't know. Viktor Frankl, he survived the Holocaust, wrote about the atrocities, and then
Oh, no, I have read that book. Actually, I read
yeah,
it like last year, in the last
okay,
6 months or something.
maybe read
It,
it again.
yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, you
It's
know
my
what's funny
standard
is
for excuse makers.
Well,
Yeah.
I listened to it because I've been a book
Huh.
listener since I was like 7 years old. My dad
Yeah.
was all about tapes, and so I had maybe not seven, maybe like 10. But we would listen to books on tape as we went to sleep, and so I've just continued that trend. But now I'm starting to find that, you know what, if I could read more, or if I actually read these books rather than just listening to them, I might retain more of the information.
Man, you have
Which
a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma.
Man, not a lot of people can identify that. A lot of people just look at me and they're like, "Oh, you seem pretty good," and I'm like,
What the
"Oh
hell are you
no."
talking about? No way in hell. Dude, you're the opposite of that, man. I can feel your pain. So for people like us, I have endless empathy, understanding, and you're really trying hard.
Oh, I
Uh,
always have.
it'd be so
Probably
painful.
too hard.
So that's what you're trying so hard. A lot
Well,
of pain,
it was a
a
huge
lot of pain.
barrier for because I've been trying to meditate since I was about 15. I
Yeah,
found a
I
book
can't
and
do that. So what I do to
yeah.
meditate is I run and then listen to shows like these while I run, or talking to world within the company, the Brepic network, it was like today it was like 35 people, pure visionaries, and we were just talking about life. That is meditation for me because
Hmm,
it's like the highest level of consciousness, and then we're all rising together.
I love
So that's
that.
a lot of fun. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the things that I've done to try to get out of my own head and stop doing these things have usually, well, what I realized one time was that I was trying to think of like, what were the best
Dude,
days of
you're
my
an
life?
addict. You're a pure addict. You're a pure
Just in
addict.
general.
Yeah, you're an addict. I can hear it.
Is there hope?
There's always hope for there's one of our PR partners, I can intro so he created well he did he I mean he partnered with people, but pure visionary, immense trauma, but he created mental health and rehab, global or not global, but national company, but it's through music. So he partners with like Aerosmith and bands like that. That'd be a good intro for you, regardless. Um,
Yeah, no, that'd be
yeah,
fantastic. It's
yeah.
been well, just so you know, I'm way better than I used to be. And even though
Yeah, but
I
you're an addict. I can hear it. Like I can feel your pain. I don't know what so I was talking to Gino Wickman, who founded EOS or whatever. He wrote Traction. He's become a pretty good friend of mine. And I was talking to him about the four things that separate visionaries from humans. He's all four, by the way. Bankruptcy, potential bankruptcy, depression, anxiety, trauma as a child. And then he goes, "Oh, there's a fifth one." I'm like, "Oh, what is it? Just give me the answer." And he's like, it's called addiction." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what entrepreneurs are. They're addicts." So I'm addicted to my family and my network. I'm not addicted to alcohol or drugs or whatever that is. I'm addicted to my family.
so in terms of
And
addiction, just the term that you're using, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a state of being.
man, you're high in context. Addiction can be great. It could also be, could lead to death. I mean, let's
But
see.
this has been fantastic. I don't think I've ever, even with therapists, had somebody nail
She doesn't
things.
understand you. They don't get it. They're not a visionary. I just introduced you to Andrew
So for your therapist, when you found, have you been seeing your same therapist for a while?
since 2018.
Wow, okay, that's a good amount of time. So she must be a visionary as well.
She's not, but she can understand. So actually, it's an important question that you just asked. Very important. So usually people like us marry stabilizing humans. Usually, not always. One of two things happens. One of two things happens. One, I think it's a situation like yours as well. It's a situation like mine, where my wife is a high achiever, high IQ pediatrician, and then she's evolved with the visionary, and then actually kind of becomes a visionary herself or himself. Um, and like she's about to host a medical TV show, national TV show. Like she
Wow.
doesn't have an idea of that, but that's what, and then you get around the right people, that's what happens. And then she's an onboarding machine. She's building her own brand, her own website. Like, so she never would have done that if she'd been married to a stabilizing human.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's, and then I would say the therapist has the IQ and EQ to evolve and ask the right questions to evolve. Because if she couldn't, then it would be a pointless discussion.
Hmm.
It's not even therapy anymore. It's a collaborative discussion, really.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's not therapy at all. Thanks for bringing that up, because now I read that's how I learn in real time. It's not a therapist. It's just a collaborative discussion. And then the other thing that happens, which I see more often, is the stabilizing human is an anchor preventer, builds resentment, can't keep up with visionary, and then that never ends well. Because a visionary is not going to stop being an
That's
addict.
true.
It's not
Yeah,
going to
it's
stop doing
part
that.
of who you are.
Correct. Yeah.
Or they could just be really miserable. That's the thing.
Yes. I don't understand that, but yes, you are correct. They could be miserable.
Well, that would be the thing that you'd want to avoid, I would say. And it's
Correct.
definitely possible, and you just make the choice.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic. I think it's definitely one of the most interesting podcasts I've done, and I've done maybe 400 or 500, something like that, on a bunch of different topics in a range of industries, and this is up there.
Industry doesn't mean anything.
True.
Industry meaningless. Mindset is everything. I don't
Love
care
that.
what someone does. I don't care at all. Meanings to me.
Wow, this has been super helpful for me personally. I hope the audience got something out of it as well. You have an extremely unique perspective in a bunch of different ways, and you're extremely blunt. You don't beat around the bush at all, which I
I would.
really, that's a waste of time, right?
Correct.
And you don't waste time, and that's awesome. So if somebody wants to learn more about your network, where can they go?
One, thank you for those nice compliments. This is all said to be helpful, and I found directness uh, attracts greatness and eliminates nonsense. And then I found directness really attracts grateful, confident people and repels arrogant, scarcity people.
Super
So
true.
thank you for that nice compliment. And then my wife taught me how to say thank you, so I'm showing gratitude for her by
Hey, you're
saying,
doing great.
hey, well, she taught me how to do it. Apparently you have to say that. But the brepicnetwork.org is the site, BREPIC network.org.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Justin. Really appreciate the insights. I think I'm, going to double down on the therapy, which is always,
Yeah, I
certain.
get it. Hey, I get it, man. I get it.
I think most people need it. It's funny when people are kind of afraid of it, or it's like, it used to be a bad word, like, oh, this person's crazy or can't handle their stuff, instead of like, no, we're all just people and things break sometimes and you got to talk about it. And that's fine. It's
That's
just
correct.
part of growth. Right.
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again. I am going to take your advice. I think it was extremely sound. I think it's shockingly simple, and I'm not going to kick myself for not realizing that. But I'm just going to step forward and start doing things that I know need to be done. And it's
Okay, well, I guess my challenge to you, if you're actually telling me the truth, then tell me in 6 months what you've done.
all
And
right.
then don't.
I will. I'm going to start with
Okay.
a big post after this podcast. So we'll see how
Great.
that
Well, that's
goes.
one day. Yeah, because talk is meaningless to me without doing something. I don't.
Love it.
Most people talk, they don't do anything.
Well, thank you so much, Justin.
You're
And thank
welcome.
you so much for listening. Appreciate you listening to Podcast Mark. If you'd like more podcasts like this, please tune in. We're covering a range of topics, and a lot of them, get pretty philosophical into self-development. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's where success is. So get started today.